Hey guys, and welcome to the ZBC Podcast, Episode 2. If you missed Episode 1, we had the Truck Series winner before the disqualification, Parker Kligerman, on, so go check out that video. With that being said, if you're new guys here, the ZBC Podcast, we're going to bring you all the news from the NASCAR weekend. So without any further ado, let's hop right into it, guys. So, Daytona. Pretty beautiful weekend, and a lot of classic things happened that we're going to get into. And we're going to get right into that. But this is how the show is going to work. First, we're going to talk a little bit about general NASCAR news. Then we're going to get into each series and kind of pick apart the highlights. So, the weekend was good, guys, but there were some issues, specifically with officiating. Now, the Truck Series race, you come down to the last lap, and there's a crash, and then the caution flag doesn't wave for like maybe 15 seconds. Then, in the Xfinity series, a crash happens and they don't wave the caution flag with enough time. So then the race gets canceled with a whole lap to go. NASCAR's Twitter is up in a beef because all this shit's happening. And then in the Cup Series, in the last lap in the Daytona 500, all of a sudden now you get a crash on the back straightaway, but NASCAR is going to let them race to the line like we're in 1998. Not very, very consistent. However, I do see where they're coming from, because if there's a crash on the back stretch, then you probably should let them just race if there's no danger to the athletes on the back stretch, especially in a bigger track. So NASCAR is really going to have to figure this out, and I would put out a statement if I was them, right? Next thing, guys. Ryan Preece highlights a lot of safety concerns. We're going to get into some clips of that accident. But Ryan Preece with the quote after the crash: "I got a 2-year-old daughter, guys. Just like a lot of us, we got families. Something needs to be done because the cars are lifting off the ground like that." Now, Ryan Preece is bringing up an excellent point, okay? There's a lot of safety concerns right now. And with cars flying up like they're in a damn airplane, it's probably not going to work for many more years before we have a bad injury in the sport. Next, major news. William Byron wins the 2025 Daytona 500. Obviously, his second one in a row. So that's going to be it for the general NASCAR news. And now we're going to get into the NASCAR Truck Series and go into some highlights, guys. So let's get it. All right, guys, NASCAR Truck Series at Daytona, the Fresh from Florida 250. Pretty epic race, solid race, the official beginning of the NASCAR's Top 3 Series season. And it was a good race, guys. So, there were big expectations. There's a lot of rookies coming in this year. You got Tricon fielding 5 cars, including Tony Breidinger. They've got a whole host of guys on that Toyota squad, right? But I want to talk about Corey Heim and Chandler Smith. So, Corey Heim, he's in an interesting position because he's in that 11 Tricon Toyota, right? Now, Corey Heim, he's been performing well, and he's had opportunities in the Xfinity series, and I believe he even had an opportunity in the Truck Series. But he hasn't moved up yet. I think he has a resume to be in Cup by this point. So, it's going to be interesting to see what he does as far as this year. He needs to come out with a bang in these first couple races. Wasn't able to do it, and we're about to get into that. But then we really got to take a look at Chandler Smith in that 38 truck, because Chandler Smith is a guy that was looking up into the Cup Series in a top ride with JGR last year in the Xfinity Series. Couldn't find funding, couldn't find a seat, puts together a late program in the year, and fortunately was able to get a full-time ride in the Truck Series. That is no easy task with a top team. And to quote him, he's looking to potentially get a championship, and I think it's kind of it's championship 4 or bust for Chandler Smith. Not because he's not a good driver, but that's just the nature of the sport, guys. So, Truck Series at Daytona. We start off Friday night, and one of the guys that I really like, Caden Honeycutt, late model guy and iRacing guy, he's out in front in Daytona.
And slip him to the inside.
Leading the race, ends up crashing on lap 4.
Was just battling for the lead, now hard into the inside wall.
And slip.
So, Honeycutt out. Good opportunity for him to race at Nice Motorsports glad he got that. Leading the race, he's taken out on lap 4. Then, as we get into stage 1, Tony Breidinger ends up wrecking, and we get another caution. End up coming back, and
green and white checker flag in the air. Ben
Thor Sport
Rhodes
driver of the
wins
99,
stage number 1.
Ben Rhodes wins stage number 1. So, in stage number 2, you got
other
Matt
catching
Crafton,
Parker Kligerman in front of him.
and he ends up winning the
This is
stage.
what
Clay
screwed the whole thing up.
Greenfield.
But then
I was
during
just
green
gonna
flag
say
pit
their
stops,
plan worked out until
Clay Greenfield
now. Greenfield
smashes
hard
into
the
the wall
inside wall. That'll bring out our
and
6th caution.
brings out the
other
caution
catching Parker Kligerman
and kind
in
of
front
shakes
of him.
things up a little bit, right? So we got green flag pit stops going on. Crafton had one stage 2, and it was going to be, you start stage 3, and all of a sudden you had 60 laps to decide it. Midway through, they're making pit stops. Clay Greenfield brings out the caution, which now sets the stage for no, you don't need to pit. You just pit under caution, get your stuff together. And then this happens on lap 83.
Yeah.
A green flag takes out a lot of contenders.
Yeah,
Crafton,
there
as you
goes
can
a-
see, Caruth going
Trouble.
down in to the bottom. Crafton out, Rhodes
I
involved.
think there's a checkup early
Breidinger involved.
ahead of him when the 11
On lap 83.
Let's watch that back one more time. It's already kind of
The
started.
91
there.
of Jack Wood,
The back to
the
the,
07
aerial view.
McDowell
The
involved.
11.
So the
gets to
first
the
big one
outside
of the
truck that
weekend
was in front of him.
really shakes things up at Daytona. Now I want to talk about a guy that is new in the truck series, and that is Giovanni or Gio Ruggiero. And around lap 83, this guy was lap 83, sorry, the last 10 laps, he was leading the race. And this is his first race, mind you, ever. And I think he's with Tricon. It's his first race ever in the truck series, and he's leading at Daytona. Not only is he leading at Daytona, guys, but Ruggiero is making blocks like a vet. He's coming down, coming up top, good car control, doesn't put a foot in the wrong place all race. But now here is what you guys have been waiting for, and the biggest news of the weekend, and one that we still haven't gotten any official word on, and that is, of course, the climax of the Craftsman Truck Series at Daytona, this last lap.
With Johnny Sauter behind him, and
Here comes the run for Johnny Sauter. If he could hang on to his truck.
66. He's got his teammates behind him. Ben
Oh,
Rhodes
look at
goes
that.
up, gets into the trucks on the outside. Ben Rhodes goes around.
So they wreck. Okay, so they wreck there. And the caution light, maybe I should have done a better job on extending that clip a little bit, but the caution light doesn't come out for a while. And then they're kind of racing through turn 3. Corey Heim is catching up to Parker Kligerman, and then it does come out. So this is the exact same scenario happened here as in the Cup Series. The wreck happens on the backstretch, and then in the Cup Series they kind of let him race like nearly to the finish line, but then here they only let him race halfway through turn 3, and it ended up that Mr. Parker Kligerman takes home the win.
Forward, and he just got it.
Parker, this is Daytona. You just won at Daytona, bud.
Daytona Regan, come on! Let's go! Biggest win of my entire life. Thank you, Don and Charlie Henderson. I wish they were here right now. Scott, we did it finally! Scott.
Okay, so Parker comes up with the huge dub. And to be honest, I thought that it was amazing. I was watching it from my couch. This was the only race I didn't attend this weekend. And I was watching the last lap, of course, and Parker Kligerman, he was moving his way up through the field throughout the race. I think he got marred in the back for some reason, but then ends up winning. And of course, super cult hero celebration, amazing. But then late after, they announced that Parker gets disqualified. And I found that really, really disheartening because, I just had Parker on the podcast last week for episode 1. So I was like, damn, that'll be cool. Not only for that reason, but I like a guy who can make it on his own. And I just feel like every time he kind of gets an opportunity to win, something happens. And I'm just tired of it. And hopefully, guys, we'll have some news on the Parker Kligerman penalty because they are appealing this. But let's take a look at the results, guys. Any notable finishes here? So, Ruggiero finishes second. Great on your first race to finish second at Daytona. Corey Heim comes out of the gate with a win. Chandler Smith does pretty good in 6th. Now, I want to take a look at the 18 of William Sawalich. I mean, no, he's not in the 18. He's in the 18 in Xfinity. But Frankie Muniz gets the top 10 because Parker Kligerman is disqualified. So awesome for Agent Cody Banks, Frankie Muniz. Any other guys to watch? I would say Andres Perez de Lara, former Rev Racing recruit. Really, really good driver. I believe he's obviously of Hispanic descent. And he is being sponsored by Telcel, which is a big Hispanic conglomerate. They got a lot of money. Other notables, Caden Honeycutt in 35th, and Raja Karuth in that 71 Hendrick Cars truck. He finishes back in the pack after that lap 83 incident. So, final thoughts on the truck series, guys. It was a good race. I liked it. You know, a lot of new faces in different places, but all in all, great race, and I think a great way to kick off the weekend. Now, that brings us in to the next race, which was the Xfinity Series at Daytona, and I did attend this race, so let's get into the Xfinity Series. Xfinity Series at Daytona, the United Rentals 300, guys. This was a big, big race for lots of people, and first guy I'll talk about is Austin Hill. Austin Hill, he comes in, and he is the odds-on favorite, according to the betting markets, to win. And not only to win, but this would have been his fourth season-opening Daytona race in a row to win. And actually, the record was Dale Earnhardt. He won 5 races in the season-opening Daytona Xfinity race from 1990 to 1994. So I won't spoil it, but another guy was Connor Zilisch in the 88, his first race in the Xfinity Series as a full-time driver. And Carson Kvapil in, how do you pronounce that name? Kvapil. Carson Kvapil in that number 1 JRM. So 2 JRM teammates in that 88 and 1 rookies, and they are going to have big, big expectations as this year rolls on. So it's also the first race for the Haas factory team as they're running a full-time campaign in the 00 with Sheldon Creed and the 41 with Sam Mayer. He just moved from the JRM number 1 and now Kvapil's in it. So there's big expectations for Mayer and Creed. Also, I would want to talk about Christian Eckes in that 16 Colleague car because he's moving up from McAnally Hilgeman in the 19 and now making that jump to the 16. I think that this guy, with the way that he was performing in the 19 truck, there are eyes on him to potentially make his way up into the Cup Series. I wouldn't be surprised if Colleague has their eyes on him to maybe move up into that Ty Dillon car, the number 10. I wouldn't see a problem with Eckes jumping into that, getting a shot. I think he deserves it. So, Nick Sanchez moving up from the Truck Series in that number 48 Big Machine Racing Chevy, and that's Parker Kligerman's old ride. So, Nick Sanchez in there. And William Sawalich, young guy, he's in the number 18 now. Also, keep an eye on Jesse Love in that number 2 RCR car in the for maybe a potential move up to Cup within the next couple of years. All right, guys, so let's get into the race. And it starts off, slow, and, the guys are taking it easy. But that doesn't last for long because on lap 5, Brandon Jones wrecks out.
And he just got into the back of Brandon, and you see turned him into the outside wall. Got Carson Kvapil as well. A lot of the rookies got caught
so
up
takes
in
out
it.
Jones.
Yeah.
Kvapil wrecks. All right, so Kvapil wrecks. Now, I'm surprised because I thought Kvapil would be out at this point, but no. He actually, and there were a couple cars and one in this race a little bit later that were able to survive impacts and were able to stay in the race, specifically to that left rear. So maybe, I don't know. Both seem to have gotten impacts on that left rear. We'll talk about it in a second. So Jones out. Again, this is a big year for him with that Menard sponsorship. Is he going to take that next step? And so the dominating guy, which is Austin Hill, as everyone expected, gets to the lead and is able to take stage 1.
Austin Hill was able to block it. We'll see if anyone can
And
generate. Nick Sanchez
pretty dominant.
He's got Anthony Alfredo back there. Can they make a run?
The RCR cars here.
Single file to chaos. Final lap, opening stage. And the green and white checkered flag delivered for Austin Hill.
Yeah, so Austin Hill and you could see Jesse Love on that outside lane. They really dominated a large portion of this race. as expected, in Cup, you expect the Penske guys to do that. But in the Xfinity Series, you're always going to expect the RCR guys to do something at Daytona. And they did not disappoint, at least at first. So RCR really dominates stage 1. Then on lap 44, Hill, he loses the lead, gets a power move back up to the lead. And then this happens on lap 58 as Hill continues to dominate. And so we're at the end of stage 2 now.
Kind of checking up right there as the draft.
So Hill's in the lead. And then watch third place here.
Mount a charge in that low lap.
Nick Sanchez hooks right into the wall.
48 into the wall.
Very similar to what we saw in the first race. As they're checking up, you can see all. I was just going to say.
So Sanchez, big expectations again in that 48. And right at the end of stage 2, there were only 2 laps to go on lap 58. Gets taken out, put into the wall. And that allows Austin Hill to win the stage 2. Now, Nick Sanchez, very disappointing after the race. He said, hey, that's just plate racing. And, it is what it is. He ran well all day, and I think it was a good performance. Look to Atlanta for that number 48 big machine to bounce back and hopefully have a good race. Big fan. So, Austin Hill ends up taking stage 2. But then, on lap 81, if you guys were watching, something pretty bad happened. So Austin Hill during the lap 70s, lap 72 in specific, there were some radio calls that he was leading the race, but his car was leaking fluid. So he's leading the race, he's leaking fluid, and then on the radio he tells his teammate, his crew chief, he said, hey, I smell grease in the car, something's happening here, but the car's running fine. All of a sudden, lap 81 comes and they come to pit road. And one car doesn't leave pit road. And I was watching. I was right in the stands. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, what the heck is going on with Austin Hill? He stays just a little bit longer and doesn't get out and loses the lead and ends up absolutely losing the race.
Got practice yesterday.
Not good.
It's a thing that you do in practice.
But I find it
So,
different in the draft.
He's leading all race.
The draft, you add that mile per hour,
Ends up going in
power, you see Austin Hill
and was not able to come out. Austin Hill, poor guy, man, because I think I kind of wanted to see. At first, I'm like, okay, Austin Hill wins twice. Then he wins a third time at Daytona. I'm like, I'm sick of it. But then for some reason, I kind of like streaks. So then I'm like, okay, let's see him win a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th. Fuck it. So anyways, Austin Hill, unable to finish the race, but he dominated the whole thing. So I kind of give him the MVP of the race. But then this happens. And here is the highlight, or the low light, we can say, of this race, guys. This pissed me the off, okay?
Blue and white. Oh, he is going way too fast.
Not
Oh,
even close. Like, not even close to hitting this break. I don't know how he could have missed it by that far. That's unbelievable.
Pit road
So
speed
Chris Wright
55 miles an
comes
hour.
into pit
He's
road
going
at 200 miles an hour, takes out
so bad for Balicki too.
Balicki. And I think he can go left or he can go right here.
A little bit of Ryan Truex, that right rear fender.
Yeah,
so
look
they're
at
gonna
that
have to do some
damage.
damage control on that as well. And that's not missing your braking
Look at
point.
this.
That
You
is
can go
just
left
completely missing.
or
Maybe
right.
he
Lost
lost
brakes. Like, you don't know. Maybe he got on the brakes there.
Okay, so you can hear Kligerman and McMurray saying, hey, maybe they lost the brakes and all that. And I'm like, okay, you lose the brakes. You could still turn the car, right? You could turn it left or you could turn it right into the grass or onto the apron, possibly. And I'm like, all right, fine. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But then I looked at the interview after the race and it was just bizarre. I mean, it was bizarre. I'll play Chris Wright's quote after the race.
Yeah, we just had some miscommunication coming to pit road there, and we wanted to get off track a little bit sooner than we did, but we had a little brake issue on that second stop. Tried to get to pit road or get off the track a little bit sooner, and a 2-second lull in communication is 2 football fields out there. So really hate it for the FMB guys, our guys, Chevy guys. Got it.
So it wasn't the brakes that caused it?
The brake issue was a part of it. I caused it.
Yeah. So, okay. First, it's a communication issue. He said it was a brake issue. Then he said the brake issue was a part of it. And then he says I caused it. So I just, look, guys, I know there's a lot of opinions of Chris Wright out there. He's been a part of a lot of crashes. But at some point, you kind of have to start as you're moving up and you're a veteran of the sport, this can't happen. Like, I've never seen a driver. I was in the stands on the Trioval, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a car streaking in, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be an impact. And I see someone looking, and they're like, oh shit. And then he just absolutely takes him out, and I was right there. And I'm like, who is this guy? And I'm like, looking it up, who's the number 5 car? And it's like, all right. And I'm just like, all right, man. So whatever. Anyways, we'll just move on. And so lap 112. So that was lap 86. That caution comes out. Green flag waves. They're racing. They keep racing to lap 112. Jesse Love, a big contender, out in the lead, blocking, doing a great job, to be honest. He is a really, really talented plate racer. And then on lap 112, we get this.
Watch Justin Allgaier in the 7 car in the middle of the pack. He turns Justin.
That's Justin Bonsignor. Out of shape, and we're under caution again.
Oh, Anthony Alfredo in it.
So, caution comes out mid-pack. Doesn't really take out contenders, I would say. I mean, technically these guys could have come back because of the way that the Xfinity series is. You get a little bit more runs. But what it really does is it sets up a restart on lap 117 with 4 laps to go, I believe. Now, 4 laps to go, Jesse Love out front, and it doesn't last a long time, that green flag run, because that kind of big one just happened. But then another wreck happens. Let's take a look.
Good or bad for them. It's kind of broken.
2 laps to go.
Have a
Watch Connor Zilic in the middle. Getting up there, turned right into the wall, hard into the wall.
Caution.
He was a contender.
A half a lap from the white flag, and we'll go to overtime.
So, overtime now imminent. Connor Zilic taken out, and a few other contenders. I'll try to do a better job of getting the names for you guys in the next podcast. But I think the main guy to look out there was Connor Zilic because, of course, it's his first full-time race, Xfinity Series, and he was in contention for the win. He was running 3rd or 4th most of the night, and kind of gutted to see that. But he will have more than enough opportunities in the future. So that brings out NASCAR overtime. We love it. 2 laps to go. Always exciting. And can we get through 2 laps? We weren't able to in the Truck Series. Let's see if we were able to in the NASCAR Xfinity Series overtime.
Creed, great, the great pusher. You see them wiggling right
so
there.
coming to 1 lap to go.
Hang on to it. Oh,
big crash. And it happened right as Jesse Love was looking at the white flag. The question becomes, did the caution come out before Jesse Love got the white?
Okay, so I'm going to, Jesse Love, if you want to take a look, let's replay that clip real quick. Watch when the crash happens.
Creed, great, the great pusher.
Right.
You see them wiggling.
Caution happens
trying to hang on
right now. Press the button now. Okay? The caution happens before he reaches it. So I've seen faster reactions happen. They weren't able to hit the caution light in time. And so technically they said Jesse Love took the white flag. And that means Jesse Love wins the race. Congratulations to him. Nothing against him or anything like that. I'm not discrediting the win. But it's just, look, I'm struggling to see what the rule is. What's the rule? Is it entertainment? If it is, come out and say that. If it's driver safety, if it is, come out and say that. I don't want consistency. What I want is clarity with these rules. And I'm sure you guys want the same thing, guys. So, really quick before we wrap up the Xfinity segment, there was a great quote by Jordan Anderson. As I was walking out of the track, and I heard this. I heard it on the loudspeaker, which was so cool to hear. Like, this guy, Jordan Anderson, he finishes 7th. Take a look at that in the number 7th place. But he bought this car, the chassis, for like, I don't know, pretty cheap off of Facebook Marketplace. He bought it. It was a 2012 chassis from Casey Mears. And he said he runs a team. He scrounged together whatever he could and put together a car. Comes to Daytona, ends up finishing 7th, and he loves the sport. Good for that guy, man. Like, honestly, good for that guy. And it just kind of sucks that, guys like that don't get too many more opportunities. We'll see him in the next super speedway races. But let's take a look at the finishing order. So Sam Mayer, his first race in that number 41 Haas factory team car, able to finish second. Sheldon Creed in that number 00. So good debut for Haas factory team. Second and third place. Carson Quapple in his first Xfinity Series full-time race, able to get the fourth position. Harrison Burton now in the Xfinity Series with a sixth place, and Eckes with a strong 12th place. Now, of course, let's go to the back of the field. Austin Hill, Nick Sanchez, of course, through, I guess, no fault of their own, finishing in the back of the field. Any more notable names? Obviously, Zilich, Sawalich in his first race with the 28th finish. And that kind of wraps up the notables. Now, Josh Bilicki, as you saw, he got taken out by Chris Wright there. Somehow comes back and finishes 14th. I'm really not sure how that happened. But all in all, I think it was a great race. Great opportunity seized by the Haas factory team and their drivers. And a great opportunity for Connor Zilich to come out of the gate and show what he's made of. And I think he did that. Also, I got to give credit where credit is due to Jesse Love. Comes out and, I know Austin Hill was the guy for the first part of the race, but Jesse Love, as soon as Austin Hill kind of, isn't able to continue, it was Jesse Love. I was there. I was watching it. It was him. So great race, guys. And all in all, good race at Daytona for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. All right, guys, the 67th Daytona 500 was yesterday, and it was a beauty. It was an instant classic, and for only the third time in history, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, shows up. And aside from that, guys, it was a beauty. I was there, and I'm not going to say it went all smooth, but it was a great race. It was a great race, and I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else. I was in the stands. I went to some sections. I wanted to get a better view. I went to the left, went to the right, rain delay, this and that. But who were the high expectations on, if you guys remember, throughout this whole buildup? It was Kyle Busch. And for some reason, Kyle Busch was the odds-on favorite to win this race. But the Penske guys, obviously by insider and betting insiders, were the favorites. And, they did show up in this race, guys. So another guy I want to talk about before we get into the clips is Corey LaJoie. And when I say the word hot seat, let's talk about super hot seat, because he was taken out of Spire and now he's with, I don't even know what team this is, but he's with the 01, sponsored by Duramax, kind of like a one-off opportunity if my understanding is right. And he better perform. Let's just say that, because, he went from, look, guys, everyone knows what happened with Corey in 2024. It is what it is. I believe he lost Gamebridge sponsorship. I'm not really sure 100%. I'll have to look into that. But Corey LaJoie on the hot seat, and I think it's a must-win situation, this Daytona race. But aside from that, it is a new NASCAR season, and we have some familiar faces in new places. Chase Briscoe in the 19, Michael McDowell, 71, Ty Dillon in that Colleague number 10, Riley Herbst, of course, in the 2311 number 35 Monster Energy Toyota. Justin Haley making his debut at Spire Motorsports. Cole Custer in that Haas factory team, a brand new team. I guess it's not really so much brand new in that 41. And Todd Gilliland takes over for Michael McDowell in the Front Row Motorsports 34. Noah Gragson takes over in that front. It's a new team, a new charter, Front Row Motorsports number 4. So it's kind of confusing because they were Stuart Haas Racing last year and they didn't even change the font of the car, but so I'm like Kevin Harvick's out there or Josh Berry. I don't know. But anyways, this Noah Gragson. Then we got Ryan Preece in the number 60, Shane Van Gisbergen in the WeatherTech number 88 Trackhouse Chevy, and Zane Smith in the number 38 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Now, guys, this race, again, was an absolute classic. Let's dive into some of the highlights, guys. Of course, we're going to get into one of my favorite highlights. I was there, and that is President Trump showing up with his granddaughter, being interviewed by Jamie Little. Absolutely cool to see the beast rolling into Daytona. We love it. Great way to kick off the weekend, right? So, the weekend's getting kicked off. There's all this hype. There's hype in the air. You could feel it. I was getting into the race, and I wasn't even able to see the beast because Secret Service held us outside. It took us like I kind of cut the line, but it would have taken me an hour and a half to get in there. And the Secret Service was all over the place. And, you know, it was pretty cool. You see the guns, the people up there, AK, whatever, the snipers and stuff on top of the building. I put it on my Instagram. And, you know, it was pretty cool. But anyways, so hype's building. Air Force One comes in, lands on the airstrip in the back. And so, again, hype builds and
wave the
green flag's
flag,
out.
And we're underway.
So the green flag's out. Everyone's happy, right? Lap 1, lap 2, lap 3, lap 4. Everything's good. Everyone's chilling. And then lap 10 comes around, and the inevitable happened that everyone was talking about all weekend.
NASCAR has quite a number of jet dryers that they will employ to get the flat areas of this racetrack, and that includes the back straight.
Okay, so the rain delay comes out. I have a couple thoughts on this, guys. So, okay, I think the reason that they tried to get in those first 10 laps, because they knew it was going to rain, was because of Secret Service, because of Trump. He has a schedule. I get that. So I'm not going to be too critical of NASCAR because they really were under the gun, literally, with Trump being there. But in any other race, just postpone the damn thing, honestly. And just as a side note, so the rain delay comes out, and I'm in the stands, whatever, having fun, doing some work on my phone, whatever. And then I'm like, damn, the track's wet. I'm going to leave. I get in my car. I look up. I go on Google. Where's the nearest basketball court? Because I had a ball in my car. I'm like, fuck it. I want to play. Anyways, I get to a basketball court. And I looked up on Google, basketball court. Then a bunch of guys show up. And, they weren't even at the race or anything. But I was just playing, whatever, a couple miles away from the track at a public park. We're playing some pickup games, this and that. And I'm like, my phone's in the car, and I don't know when the race is going to start. And I'm like, shit, but I'm having so much fun playing basketball. All of a sudden, I hear, I'm like, guys, I got to go. So I freaking get my ball. I get my keys, get back in the car, ride over to Daytona, and I missed like maybe 10 or 20 laps. But we get into Daytona for the restart of the race, I guess you could say, after the 4-hour delay. It was a 4-hour delay. So, I was happy though, because
green flag, we're racing again.
It's sunset
in the Daytona
now. 500.
It's
sunset now. And, I like a night race, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. Track's dry. The weather was cooling down. I was praying actually for a little bit of a rain delay. But anyways, stage 1 of the race was interesting. I would say kind of standard racing. They're holding
on
back.
the outside with Blaney
and
with Stenhouse.
And fuel
Logano
saving
moves to
the
top
like.
side to pick him up, and
Joey
abandons the
Logano
Chevrolet of
dominating
Byron on
in
the
stage
bottom.
1.
Blaney got attached to that bumper going down the back straightaway and gave him a ride all the way to the front. His teammate pulled.
So, again, standard racing in stage 1, and lap 63 then. Logano leading, and then this happens with 3 to go in stage 1.
I think that's the benefactor. Oh, we got it. Denny's around.
Denny Hamlin, and
Zane
around
Smith.
goes Zane Smith. And we're going to be under caution. Oh, Josh Berry at the wall for the Wood brothers.
So that's going to take out Zane Smith in his first attempt on the number 38, and that's going to take out Josh Berry. And they were basically done. They actually continued to log some laps with the new damaged vehicle policy, but that was effectively the end for them. And Logano ended up winning the stage. No surprise. It's no surprise the Penske guys are going to be up there. And then notably, so kylebusch making his way up through the field, Allgaier in that number 40 JRM Chevy, they actually both got penalties on pit road during the stage break, had to go to the end of the lead lap. So then we get stage 2. I'm not sure why this happened, but I have a pretty good idea that it was because of Logano. He had an issue starting stage 2.
Something happened with a shift or something. Stack that outside lineup and the wrecking.
Oh, crash.
So you see Chastain, Truex,
Castroneves,
Briscoe, Herbst, Johnson, Castroneves. So that took out about 5 guys. And that was all caused by Logano, because he had a power issue on the start, and it kind of stacked up the field and ended up, just kind of messing everyone up. So Let's get to some highlights of how beautiful the racing was, guys, because there was a point in the middle of this race where I was in awe of the track.
There again,
and,
you see Chase Elliott being able
just
to keep
the way these cars
really
looked,
close
how fast they were going, 3-wide racing.
Cindric as he
it was beautiful, guys.
Out there
and
to the lead.
So what you didn't see there is that Logano. So if you guys were watching, maybe you didn't see it on TV, but Logano was in and out of pit road. I even saw a guy inside his car, a pit crew member inside of his car. So there were 2 guys in the car. I didn't know that was even legal. But Logano somehow, he goes a lap down, or he comes back on the track, stays a lap down under caution. Then he goes back around and he somehow manages to be 1 lap and then gets the free pass. Somehow, hats off to Penske, because the way that they fixed that car was pretty epic, and they were under the gun. And I saw them working. I had my camera trained on it from the stands. I was like, oh shit, like what are they doing? Are they going to be able to keep him in the race? So kudos to them for keeping Logano's dream of the 500 alive. And then, so again, we're in stage 2, cars, beautiful racing 3-wide. And then Blaney
make some decisions.
Closes out the stage.
Here they come to the line.
The Penske
Cindric,
guy's still in
can
front.
he edge Blaney? No, Blaney gets the push from his buddy Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney wins stage number 2.
Okay, so Ryan Blaney wins stage number 2. He started to really creep up through the field. Cindric was pacing the field most of the race, and the Penske guys, again, were just, as usual, dominant. And then in stage 3, again, we have a lot of great, beautiful, clean racing. And stage 3 was interesting because it was going to be a pit window. And the pit window was coming up at around lap 170-ish. But then on lap 162, all that gets canceled out. And let's roll the clip. So the caution comes out. And I believe it was for debris. And that basically took out any pit strategy possible. So that was it. Lap 162, the caution comes out, no pit strategy, and it's just going to be a race to the finish with about 34 laps to go. So they restart, Blaney's up front, this and that, Bubba Wallace. And Bubba Wallace ends up having some difficulties with his motor or something like that. Smoke was coming out of his car. He was taken out of contention. And then the laps start winding down. 15 to go. 25 to go, 20 to go. And then you see LaJoy creeping up. LaJoy, okay? And then he starts making the lead. People are like, oh shit, the number 01 coming out. A lot of jockeying for the lead at this point. But here's where shit gets crazy, okay? Because on lap 186, it changed everything. Let's roll the clip and take a look at what happened on lap 186.
They're going to have about one more chance of blocking
so
this
watch
22.
Joey Logano.
If they miss it, he's going to be around him. Huge pushes off of John Hunter Nemechek behind him.
Moves on the inside.
Look at this.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Late
block
on
that block. He's still trying. He's up.
Trying to squeeze
takes out
Couldn't
Blaney.
do it. Into the wall goes
takes out
Logano.
himself.
And with him goes Blaney and Gregson and Chase Elliott.
A lot of contenders out with that one. Kind of funny moment. I was actually near the trial, as I just said, and I see Logano literally, as you guys saw on TV, just smacking the wall and doing a burnout in the middle of the race. But lap 186, caution comes out, and lap 193 is when they restarted. So they were able to get the track cleaned up. It took them 7 laps, so now you only got 8 to go to start the race. And the race is going good. My favorite driver, Denny Hamlin, somehow gets up to the lead. And then with 4 to go, this happens.
The scenario that I think I would want if I was a teammate, with being
Watch
door
Christopher
to door
Bell
with my
in
teammate,
front.
Hamlin and Bell for this front.
Right into the wall.
Bell into the wall.
Off of the front
Off of
bumper,
Custer, and up in the air goes Ryan Preece. And for the second time in his career, he is flipping at Daytona. Good.
Okay, so, I mean, it's hard to watch. A couple things I want to talk about there, guys. So it's 5 laps to go. The race is getting hot and heavy at Daytona. Tempers are flaring, and Christopher Bell gets a bump in the rear, kind of fishtails him, hooks him into the wall. Unfortunate. Takes out a lot of contenders. But then, of course, Ryan Preece, the very scary accident. This is going to be the topic of discussion. for the next couple of weeks. And hopefully, Atlanta, it's a smaller racetrack, but you're going just as fast. So, things got to be done here, guys. So keep an eye out for NASCAR to make some announcements regarding the Ryan Preece crash. So that crash brings out the red flag and sets up a NASCAR overtime with Denny Hamlin in first place and trying to hold off the rest of the field. Let's get into this last lap action at the Daytona 500.
It's on both sides. Custer goes to the outside.
So Hamlin leading.
Crash. Hamlin gets turned into the wall.
Oh my gosh. Still green.
Huge crash.
Trying to
now
let
watch
the
the caution light.
race back. Here they come.
Still green.
Here comes Byron.
Off
That could be a two-time winner here. William Byron.
Byron, Nemechek, Reddick. Off turn 4 and to the flag. Checker is waving.
No caution light.
William Byron has won the 500 for the second year in a row.
Holy cow.
Holy cow, baby, let's go!
So no caution light. Again, we went through all the stuff that happened in the last 2 races. Good for William Byron. Ends up winning his second in a row. Awesome guy. Awesome. And just like Jesse Love, and just like Corey Heim, I'm not taking anything away from the victory, but it leaves questions to be asked about, this whole deal. And, we're going to see what NASCAR says. Are they going to say anything? Typically what they do is they just kind of adjust and don't say anything. So I just want to see Elton Sawyer come out and say something. So Byron in the right place at the right time. He dodges the crash, emerges victorious for the second year in a row. Congratulations to Mr. William Byron on winning the 67th running of the Great American Race, guys. Now, let's get into something pretty cool, which is the move of the weekend. And actually, the move of the weekend, guys, it's a new segment on the show. So I'm going to tell you what was the coolest move all weekend. And I typically won't be this basic on it, but I'm going to be basic. And I thought it was a really cool move, guys. William Byron on the last lap of the Daytona 500. Of course, you got to give it to him because it's a career-defining moment. So Denny Hamlin's leading, and William Byron is like in 3rd or 4th place on that second lane on the outside. And watch what he does when he sees the crash. Watch that neon red car sneak on the outside at the end of this race.
Both sides. Custer goes to the outside.
Goes right to the outside at the right time and barely escapes.
Oh my gosh. Still green.
Trying to let the leaders race back. Here they come.
Still green.
So guys, move of the weekend. You got to give it up to William Byron. Let's run that back one more time. Look at the reflexes on this dude.
Both sides. Custer goes to the outside.
Right to the outside.
Hamlin gets turned.
And that's a split-second decision he made there, guys. That's not, video game, I can go back. That's boom, bing. Like instinct. That is what you call a race car driver. Able to do the right thing when it counts and bring home the money, the glory, the Harley J. Earl Trophy, all that stuff, guys. So let's get into our final thoughts of the weekend, guys. I thought it was a beautiful weekend. Classic for sure. Amazing stuff happened. Fireworks, the president, the race, everything was fire, to be honest, guys. So let's give it up for Daytona. Putting on a nice show. Awesome weekend. Now, on the officiating side, I do think it was questionable. However, I do see the angle that NASCAR is taking, where they determined that in the Cup Series race, there would be no real safety risk in letting them race to the line. So I think, I actually talked to a fan about a rule in the stands while I was watching, and I said, I think it was for the I can't remember which race, but the rule was if you're within 1,000 feet of the finish line or a certain distance of the finish line and there's no immediate safety risk, you should let them race to the line. So there has to be some sort of clear-cut thing because, again, it's just too objective and everyone knows it, but I'm not going to judge them too harshly because I think they're trying to do better and they let them race to the line. And Reddick had a chance to win the 500 because they let him race to the line. So the racing was better than last year. It was. Last year, they've improved the package. The Xfinity series was on fire. Truck series is pretty good. But the NASCAR, they weren't with this fuel-saving crap. It wasn't as much. And the cars were really racy. And I honestly enjoyed this race more than last year's race. And I was at both. And I'm excited to see what happens next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. All 3 series are racing, and hopefully I'll be there. We'll see. But guys, thank you so much for watching this first ever news edition of the ZBC podcast. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, like the video, and we got a lot of more stuff coming here on the ZBC channel. Guys, with all that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching. Love NASCAR. Hope to have you join the channel. And with that being said, guys, ciao for now.